taking calls from people who were stuck in a freaking timeshare and could not get out.
Yeah.
And so for Timeshare Exit Team to come along and find a way to get them out of their rip-off timeshare, I was so excited to endorse them, and I still remain proud to endorse them. So Mike Flasky, who is the CEO of one of the scummiest and largest of the timeshare companies called Diamond Resorts, tweeted at me May 19th, "Wow, Dave Ramsey's made millions endorsing Timeshare Exit Team, who's being sued by many, including the Washington State AG. Check this story out. Time for Dave Ramsey to check out of his timeshare exit endorsement." You know why Mikey wants us to check out of that? Because they're kicking his butt up around his neck, and he's wearing it like a collar. That's why he wants us to check out of that, because they are one of the scummiest. So the deal is they've made hundreds of millions of dollars. Yes, I've been paid for our endorsement. Proudly, I get paid for our endorsement. I am a capitalist. I don't mind getting paid for our endorsement, but we do not endorse things that we don't believe in. And Mikey, I can tell you this. I've never had a single attorney general, like the one in the state of Arizona, who fined us $800,000 for something we were doing. Yeah, which was how you settled with, they required Diamond to pay the state a total of $800,000. $650,000 will be used for consumer restitution, $150,000 for the state's attorneys and fees. This assurance also includes the relinquishment program, which requires Diamond to allow qualifying consumers who no longer want their timeshare to return them to Diamond with no further obligations. Consumers complain that Diamond used deceptive sales practices and made numerous oral misrepresentations and false statements during timeshare sales presentations. No kidding. They're timeshare salesmen. They misrepresented annual maintenance fees increases, membership resale and buyback programs, which doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Timeshare membership resale market doesn't exist. The ability to rent timeshare vacations doesn't exist, and discounts on other travel needs. Under the settlement, Diamond agreed to take a number of changes to its business practices. $800,000 later, huh, Mikey? Yeah. So don't call out my integrity on Twitter, you piece of dirt, because I'll tell 17 million people how bad your company is, like right now. Yeah. The phone number here, if you want to talk timeshares, 888-825-5225. This same company, Anthony, this one just boils your blood.
Yeah, I read that one, Dave.
Retired Christian missionaries Frank and Betty Lusk. Company convinces Arizona couple nearly 90 years to buy a $150,000 timeshare. Guess who it was? Diamond Resorts. Salesman had convinced them to buy a $150,000 timeshare with $8,000 in annual fees. 90-year-old missionary couple. They called it a dream holiday. Actually, it was a nightmare, said Frank, 89, who was a music professor. It was the dumbest thing we ever did. Desperate for a way out, they agreed to an exit company's hefty fees to try to negotiate an end to the contract. Betty, an 88-year-old former librarian, has had insomnia and fainting spells from the stress. She's gone to the hospital several times. The Lusk have used timeshares for years in Scotland, Florida, Alaska, Hawaii. And then they found Diamond Resorts, who lied to them in a September 2018 sales presentation and used hardball tactics that echo prior complaints from consumers, such as not adequately explaining all the costs. $150,000 timeshare
at 90 years old, Dave.
This is a company that is the worst of the worst in the business.
And
now, if you want to go over to the other end of the spectrum, Disney has timeshares. Now, I'm not going to tell you to buy a Disney timeshare, but you can't. There is at least a market for it. You can sell it and get out of it. It's one of the few you can actually get out of.
Right.
And they do actually not lie. They do actually deliver the vacation as agreed. It's still a bad investment. Still a bad investment.
Yeah.
Wyndham, getting ready to file bankruptcy.
Yep.
Their stock's gone to almost zero. It doesn't look like they're going to make it. We are projecting their bankruptcy filing any day now, and they've been one of the scummier ones that's out there. Westgate, Vacation Village, just to name a few more. So if you've had a timeshare experience and you want to share it this hour, our contention is these things suck beyond belief, and some of these companies are scum of the scum. Stay away from them. We're going to talk about it the rest of the hour. The phone number is 888-825-5225. This is The Dave Ramsey Show. And we're going to start off this hour with Linda. Linda's calling from Florida. Hi, Linda. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi, how are you?
Great. How can we help?
Better than I deserve, right?
You're right. I am better than I deserve. So what's your story?
I used to work for one of the major timeshare companies. I was a paralegal in the employment law department, and my job was to defend the company from lawsuits brought by its own employees. And in a legal department staff meeting, the CEO of our company was going around giving each different legal discipline kind of kudos for what the part we play in the corporate health. And when he came to the employment law group, he said, well, the personality type that it takes to be a successful timeshare salesperson is the same personality type that gives the employment lawyers job security.
Ooh. That's a little telling.
Yeah.
And it's one of the big four. You worked for one of the big four, right?
Yeah. The W one.
The Wyndham one. That one. It sounds like Wyndham.
Wyndham one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Wyndham.
right. And so in other words, the people we hire to do timeshare sales, the type of person we hire is likely to turn around and sue us.
Well, or cause lawsuits.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of sexual harassment and discrimination and just bad acting going on among the employees, and the employees would sue the company for, a bad work environment.
Yeah. Wow.
And I personally investigated like EEOC charges of discrimination and stuff, and I was fully employed.
Your employment was not in jeopardy for lack of work.
Not at all. Not at all.
Unbelievable. How long have you been gone?
Oh, I've been gone now for about 7 years. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
I ultimately quit. It was such a horrible work environment. And I felt like I was in a little bit of a bubble because I worked for the law department. I didn't work in sales. I didn't work, out there with the product. Mm-hmm. But I told people, my job is to defend this company from its scummy employees.
Wow. Unbelievable. So you hear stories, I'm sure, in that setting of the way the consumer was treated, right?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, on my last day, when I quit, and I was really surprised that they had me work the 2 weeks notice that I gave, because I worked with really confidential information, and I would have thought that when I gave my notice, I would have been walked out the door, but no, because I was a good employee, and they knew I would. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, on my very last day, I was working to the last minute because I was going to go out with my head held high, and everybody was gone. It was 5 o'clock. Nobody was answering phones. And I was sitting at my desk and my phone rang. And the receptionist in the corporate office was trying to get somebody to answer the phone because there was an attorney calling with an issue. And I was the only person who would answer the phone. And so I answered my phone, and this attorney was on the line, and he had this elderly couple that were his client, well into their 80s, who had been sold a timeshare. And he said, and he was from Alabama, and I went to Auburn, and he was in Auburn, so we had an instant rapport. And he said, now, honey, it's not that they can't afford it, because they can, but they're in their mid-80s, and they have no business having this timeshare. They're never going to use it. They're not in good health. They just, they're not going to use it. And they were just sold this bill of goods, and they bought it because they're too nice to say no. And he said, I just need to know how to help them get out of this contract that they signed. And I gave him, this was like my satisfaction walking out the door. I gave him the name, the telephone number, the email, and the fax number of the person in the legal department who handles the escalated consumer complaints. And I said, what you need to do is you need to write a demand letter address it to this person, and somewhere in your letter, use the word misrepresentation.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what will get the attention of the escalated people in the legal department.
Because they do not have a resale. They don't have a buyback program. They don't have a resale program. You're stuck.
No.
You're stuck.
They don't want it. They don't want it. They want the fees. They want the maintenance fees that go on forever.
Yeah, you're stuck. I've tried to get people out of them for years, and I didn't know how until we got this exit team.
Misrepresentation.
That's the word. Yeah,
Misrepresentation.
because you know it happened.
Lawyers' attention.
Yeah, you know it happened, and it happened every time.
Yeah,
in every sales presentation,
Absolutely.
because this is the type of people that that they hire is coming people who misrepresent. Yeah. Wow.
Well, and when I very first started at Wyndham, I worked for the law group that handles the advertising, because timeshare is heavily regulated in every single state, because they're notorious for the lies and the misrepresentation. And every state has laws about what they're allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say in their advertising.
And they break them every time.
There's a whole legal department that reviews all of the advertising to make sure that they're walking the fine line and not advertising in ways that'll get them in trouble with the state regulators. They have just this whole department devoted to it.
Wow. Amazing.
Wow.
Well, Linda, thank you for sharing. Is there anything we're leaving out?
I'm sure that I'm sure that, I have so many years of experience, I could take up the whole rest of your show, but you don't want that.
Oh, I'm tempted. I'm tempted. So suffice it to say, from a paralegal who worked inside the business, that the people doing the sales are scummy enough to sue their own company, and these companies regularly are misrepresenting their offering. So, Linda, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. David is with us. David is in Tennessee. Hi, David. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show. Tell us your timeshare horror story.
Oh, thank you very much. We inherited a Wyndham timeshare from my dad, and we've used it a few times. And every time we go in to make a reservation, they tell us that we need to sit down and learn how to use our membership better. So we decided to take them up on that this last time that we went. So they told us to be 45 minutes. We went in. They said that they needed to run our credit in order to tell us more about our ownership. So we felt it's kind of sketchy, but we went ahead and since we were wasting an afternoon anyway, we let them do it. 4 hours later, we left not knowing a whole lot more than we did when we started out. Wow. And the next morning, my wife got emails notifying us that they had opened up 4 credit cards in our name. What? And I assumed that whenever we were signing the credit permission to check our credit, we were actually signing permission to open up credit cards, even though they didn't tell us that. We told them we did not want credit cards blatantly, because they did ask us at one point. We said no. And we had it all filled out. They gave us an iPad to fill out and sign on, so we couldn't actually see what we were signing for. We took them at their word against our better judgment.
That was a mistake. Yeah.
And yes, and they told us
so that you either signed up for credit card applications or they stole your identity, one of the two.
Yes, one of the two, and I have since gotten on all the credit check sites and had my credit locked where they can't get to it. Fortunately, it didn't ruin our credit scores like we were afraid it was going to, but...
I believe I'd have an attorney contact them, because I'm thinking you get a free timeshare. I'm not sure you want one, but I'm thinking you get one, because I'm thinking that a whole bunch of stuff was violated there. Well, this is a scummy, scummy business. Wyndham, Diamond, Westgate, Vacation Village, the bottom of the barrel. The best of the bunch, still don't want to buy from them, are Marriott on the other end of the spectrum, and of course Disney.
Yep.
But again, I wouldn't buy a timeshare of any kind ever, in any circumstance. But you're hearing the real story about these people. It's a timeshare nightmare hour. What should be a dream. But everybody's heard the story. I don't know why anybody falls for it anymore.
I don't know either, Dave.
Why would you go, not only to buy one, but why would you go in knowing that you're going to be trapped in a room for hours on end, and you trade off a portion of your life for a free vacation in a substandard property?
I would.
And that's what these things are.
Yeah.
Timeshare Nightmare calls at 888-825-5225. That's 825-5225. Bill is in. That's not Bill. Dave. Okay, you guys got to put that on hold. Thanks. I screwed it up. I can't operate anything. Bill's in Michigan. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Hey, good, Dave. How are you?
Good, man. Tell us your timeshare story.
Well, I'm just going to back you up on everything you're basically saying about it. I was a young guy who just got married. I think I was 22 or 3, I guess, when we got invited by a couple to go up to their resort that they had a timeshare with. And before we knew it, we were in a room and all the bells and whistles and, oh, this is going to be great. And before we knew it, we were signed up as a young couple with this new timeshare and thought we'd be using it. And, a lot of misrepresentation, and I think, this has been 20 years ago. I own my timeshare, but the maintenance fees, like you talk about, I think I started at $400 a year. Now they're like $1,000 a year.
Whoa!
And we hardly use it. Oh yeah, they've more than doubled. And I think the biggest problem.
How many weeks do you own?
Oh, when we got it, it was like $10,000 for the timeshare. It was like 6,000 points, which. This is through Blue Green. I don't know if I'm supposed to say it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. They're one of the worst. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So there's peak time, non-peak time. So when you go to use it, obviously, if you go to peak time, 6,000 might get you 2 or 3 days. To where off-peak might get you 5 days or something. It just depends where you go, when you go, and most of the time, anytime we've tried it, we couldn't get it when we wanted to, so either we just went to a different place, if we wanted to go on that vacation. We're not great, I'm going to say, long-distance planners, if that's the term, as far as, hey, let's take a vacation in 3 months, because you'd almost have to schedule through Blue Green, from what we found, way out further than that to get the resort you wanted to go to. Otherwise, you just never would happen.
So basically, you've been stuck paying $1,000 a year now, where your annual fees have more than doubled.
Yeah.
For something you can hardly use.
Exactly. It torques you off to no end. And I was 20, so I was naive, didn't really know a lot about it. There was no people talking about it like you guys do, and a couple other radio stations that I do listen to. It just wasn't out there. So, I really didn't. I don't know. I guess it was my own stupidity, not really knowing what I was getting into. It sounded really great when we were.
Well, and you were lied to.
Yeah.
That's what you said.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Yeah. It's been something. So I'm definitely finally turned the corner. And again, we haven't used it probably in 2 years, and be lucky if we use it again. So I'm hoping that I can find,
So Bill, real quick, before to that 25-year-old who's your age when you signed up, and they're about to go, they're thinking about going to get one.
They're going for a free weekend.
Free weekend. Tell them why. Tell them why they need to avoid that crap.
Well, they're going to get you in there and they're going to feed you everything. It's almost like a car dealership or something. The salesman, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear.
Yeah.
And they won't read any of the fine print, and it's all there in front of you. But are they giving you time to read it? Hey, take this home, take this pack home. Because heck no, if you actually took it home and read it, you'd burn that thing in a minute. You would, honestly.
All right, Bill. Thanks for the story, man.
Thanks
Appreciate
so much,
you
Bill.
joining us. Very cool. All right, up next is Jackie in Arizona. Hi, Jackie. Tell us your timeshare nightmare.
Hi, Dave. Boy, I am so glad. I am such a fan of you, and I'm so glad you have this timeshare thing on, because I am so passionate about this. Back in 1980s, we moved from Minnesota to Arizona, and we never heard of a timeshare before. And we got something in the mail. You get a $25 coupon to at Home Depot or something. I thought, oh, we like Home Depot. Let's go get $25. And so we listened to the spiel and whatnot. We weren't making hardly anything then, but we bought. It was a deeded property then. It was through Sunterra. Well, so anyways, as the years went by, we started having kids, and and I'm thinking, they're not going to any places that we really would take our kids to go to. Like we're doing soccer. Well, you got anything, et cetera, et cetera. So, anyways, they ended up changing. They sold out to Diamond, I think it was.
Yes, they did.
International. Yeah, and I tell you. And all the things that Sunterra had promised us, they said it would carry over, which was like free airline tickets, et cetera. Well, we never did get those. And I would write letters to them. I would call them. Never. Oh yeah, they're coming. And then I would make documentation that what I did. And I never did get the airline tickets. Well, anyways, so then there was another promotion, and so we went again, which is, I don't know why, but we did. And then, of course, they wanted us to switch from the deeded property to points.
Uh-oh.
Well, and
Uh-oh.
yeah, I know. I didn't know why we did, but they wanted us, but we did. We didn't switch. So, and then there was another timeshare company called ILX out of International. I think you're out of Arizona. Premier Vacation Club, I think it was. And then we bought with that too. And oh my goodness, so now we've got all these maintenance fees, et cetera, and annual fees. And then, I thought, well, we need, my husband, Charlie, he says, we need to get out of this. I said, okay. So it was probably in 2007, 2008, I started writing to the company and said, we don't want the timeshare anymore. Well, I'm sorry, you can't do it. And then I even tried to I wrote to the certain foundations, like the Kidney Foundation, and said that we'll give you our timeshare. Nope, they didn't want it. And then we would give it back and then to them, but they didn't want it. And so we ended up, I said, I'm spending a lot of time trying to get rid of these things. Oh, I even paid $139 to have them advertised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
those lists are a complete rip. Advertise it for sale with 9 million other people that can't get rid of theirs.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then I would get calls from them, and then they'll say, well, we'll get rid of it for you if you pay us $5,000 or $500. And I said, I tell you what, I'll give it to you. and I don't even have to pay it. Why don't you just take it, But no, they wouldn't do that. So anyways, my husband says, okay, you got a chance to spend a lot of time to work this. So we ended up eventually did go to points, unfortunately. And then we gave one back to them, but we had to pay fees for a year in advance to them. It was to Diamond, and it's right place in Scottsdale, Arizona. And then we ended up giving another one away to a friend, which I don't think that was very nice.
That's some kind of friendship.
Yeah, that was
suffice it to say, you've been chasing your tail for a decade on these things,
man.
And it's not been any fun. So, the timeshare business, that's what it is. You get stuck in it, and you can't get out. And talk about something that takes up your time.
Yeah.
Identity theft takes up your time.
Yeah.
Payday lenders take up your time and rip you off. This stuff, anytime you make a financial mistake, and buying a timeshare would be at the top of that list because the quality of the people and the companies you're dealing with is so low.
Yeah.
You're just dealing with the bottom of the barrel from the salespeople on up. It is absolutely ridiculous. And we've heard that from inside the company. We've heard that from outside the company. We've heard that from the Attorney General of Arizona, who announces an $800,000 settlement with Diamond Resorts for all of their lies and misrepresentation and how they'd rip the consumer off. And, they appear to be the bottom of the barrel on this.
$140.
And you know what? Yeah. And you know what? We really weren't calling out particularly names on this show of the companies until a few months ago, and they decided they were going to threaten us, which was a mistake.
Came for the wrong team.
Yeah. This is not, if you're going to threaten us, then we're going to tell people exactly who you are, exactly what's going on. We were just trashing the industry, but we'll call you out by name, Mikey. So, when does Ramsey Solutions go after an industry or even a company by name? When they're screwing the consumer. We stand up for the consumer.
Yes, we do.
When you drove by the payday lender and saw people lined up during COVID outside, you immediately went to your Instagram, posted that, and said, people don't do that. You're getting screwed.
Yes.
When we recognize that whole life insurance is screwing people, we call it out.
Yes.
When we recognize that car leasing is screwing people, we call it out.
Yes.
We are on your side.
Yes.
America. And it's real simple.
Yeah.
Real simple.
And the reason why, Dave, is because we've been there. We may not have went to that specific route, but we've done stupid with money. And so I'm so passionate about it.
I wish somebody told me.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm here for, is to tell them.
Yes, sir.
That's what you're here for, is to tell them.
Yep.
Tell the truth.
Don't do it.
You don't need to. You don't need to go $100,000 in debt to go to that college you can't afford.
Nope.
You don't need to make these stupid mistakes.
Nope.
And timeshare is right at the top of the list of stupid mistakes.
Yes, sir.
And so we are proudly endorsing Timeshare Exit Team to get people out of business.
Yes.
Out of their timeshares until some of these timeshare companies are out of business.
Yeah.
It won't happen, though, because there's a sucker born every minute that'll walk into one of those rooms, get locked in there, and not leave for 5 hours and sign up.
Yeah.
I've been in those situations. Everybody's been in those situations, and everybody falls for it.
Yes, sir.
So I'm about done talking about these particular companies unless they continue to come at us. If they come at us, we're going to continue to turn 2 million people on Instagram
Yes, sir.
and 17 million people listening here loose on these companies and let you guys know exactly where they stand. Yeah. But I'm going to always tell you to not do a timeshare. And I'm always going to tell you proudly to use Timeshare Exit Team to exit your timeshare.
Yeah.
And to get after them and get out of these stupid things. It's expensive to get out, but it's more expensive to stay in.
Sure enough.
And here's the other thing. You know, we've got on the whiteboard downstairs, you know, I may spend $1 million building a documentary with whistleblowers from inside the business and disclose every freaking detail on these people. You reckon that'd run on Netflix?
That sure will.
I mean, what happened when we decided to go after student loan problem?
Hey, listen.
We had 8 episodes in Borrowed Future. And a huge hit in the podcast world.
Yes.
Almost 2 million people have now listened to Borrowed Future. And all that was an expose of an industry that is completely screwing the consumer and has gotten completely out of hand.
Yeah.
And the student loans are a disaster.
And we're not done.
And we're not done with them.
Yep.
We're going to stay on them.
Yep.
But you know, that's what happens when we decide to point our ability to reveal this to millions and millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
And we will continue to do that.
Yeah.
I've done that my entire career, and I will not stop doing that. As long as there are airwaves and digits to carry our voices, we're going to stand up for the consumer.
Yes, sir.
It is what we do. Jim is with us. Jim is in Florida. Hi, Jim. Welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Better than I deserve. What's up? Tell us your timeshare story.
Enjoy your show. Well, it actually involves my daughter and son-in-law. They got married a few years ago, and part of their honeymoon, they were given a tour of one, I guess. And make a long story short, they got snookered into one, and he was underage. My son-in-law was underage, and they knew it. And they didn't realize it at first, my daughter and son-in-law, till they got home, and I was looking at the paperwork and all that. They paid on it for some time, but you got to get out of this. So bottom line is they did. We threatened to sue them because he was underage.
Yeah, a contract with an underage person is not binding.
Yeah.
That's correct. So they got out of it. That's the good part of it.
Wow.
They got out of it.
So the timeshare salesman knows that this kid is not even 18 years old, and he signs him up anyway.
I don't remember how. I think it was under 21.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly, but they realized they made a mistake, and they came to mom and dad for help.
Wow.
So we got them out of it.
Wow.
They're grateful.
Which company was that? Do you remember?
Westgate or something like that, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, they're right up there. They're right at the bottom of the barrel with Diamond and with Vacation Village and Wyndham. That's the 4 that are on our radar that are given. They're the ones with the most complaints and the biggest.
Yeah, well,
the
they
biggest.
were so gullible on their honeymoon and took advantage of it.
Yeah, well, and they took a half a day or a day of their honeymoon, locked them in a room, and wouldn't let them out.
Yeah.
You know, till they signed up. So wow. Underage, and they sign him up anyway. Tom is in Kansas. Tom, tell us your timeshare nightmare.
Okay, well, me and my wife were in Las Vegas, and she was going with another couple to see a timeshare presentation. I had to go find my brother-in-law at a convention there, and before she left, I said, now, you know about these timeshares? And she says, oh, I know. You know, we'll never get one. And so when I met her later in the afternoon, she had bought one.
Oh, no.
And that didn't go over too well.
I bet.
2 years later, we came back to Las Vegas, and I told her we need to get out of this. And we didn't know about the Timeshare Exit Team at that time. So we went to the timeshare people and said we went out, and they said, well, you've got to upgrade it to get some points so it's easier to get rid of.
So spend more money.
So we had to pay another $7,500 to get the points, and then we couldn't get rid of it either. Couldn't give it away.
So they lied.
And then we found out about the timeshare exit team, and it did take a little bit, but we finally got out of it.
Yeah, was that Diamond or who was that?
It was RCIA, and I'm not sure what company that was with. But
yeah, because they're big in Vegas. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
wow.
But it was,
But timeshare exit team got you out.
Yes, they did.
Okay, and it's expensive too. You probably paid several $1,000s, didn't you?
I paid to get out with timeshare exit. I only paid $3,500.
Yeah, but that got you out of all the maintenance fees and all the other stuff. That's usually what it costs about like that. Yeah. But it probably took what 6 months to a year to get you out.
Well, it took about 2 years.
Oh, about 2 years. Okay. Wow.
But they were really busy because we kept calling them. They said, well, we're building new offices. I mean, it was, they were just expanding.
Yeah.
Timeshare exit.